He did it himself.
Good afternoon. I hereby call this special meeting of the Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let a record show that a quorum is present and that notice of this meeting was legally posted in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. Reverend Ralph Irwin is unable to attend today's meeting. Please join us in turning your cell phones to the silent mode. First item on the agenda is public comment. We did not receive any requests to address the board as outlined in our meeting notice tonight. So we'll move straight into our discussion action agenda. Item 3A, presentation by legal counsel of draft illustrative plan redistricting the trustee districts based on recently issued 2020 census data. Dr. Trujillo.
Yes, ma'am. We're excited to have Rickman with us this afternoon. They're going to be sharing with us some of the work that they've put to place for each and every one of the trustees this evening, and excited to have the update and information presented to us this evening. So at this time, we'll just turn it over to our presenters.
Josh, I believe.
You want to start, Kimberly?
I'm Kimberly Kelly. I'm an attorney on the redistricting team. We also have David Linda with us here, and our GIS analyst is Josh Bristol. So we are going to start by pulling up the initial assessment that I know David presented to the board a couple weeks ago, and we'll just kind of do a refresh on that. So here is our demographics for our initial assessment. As you'll recall, the district, or the ISD is out of balance by 25.05%. As you'll recall, we've got District 1 is underpopulated by about 13%, and District 4 is overpopulated by about almost 12%. Then we have District 2 is slightly overpopulated at 6%, and District 3 is slightly underpopulated at 6%. District 5 is pretty well in balance here. So basically what we need to focus on tonight is adding population to District 1 and taking some population out of District 4. As I mentioned, the other two districts are a little too big and small, but we have come up with a plan that we wanted to present you here tonight that is a potential fix for the district. This is based purely on legal principles and the criteria that you'll recall you adopted at the last meeting. So this is a potential fix that we can work with, and this will be an interactive drawing session so we can test how the numbers work and what it does to your one person, one vote balance. So if we want to start with the underpopulated district, we'll pull up the plan. We've labeled it Plan A, and that's the plan that we have come up with that, again, is a potential fix. And before we really dive into the details, we want to zoom in on the map. I believe David wanted to address just a couple of discrepancies from when we had presented the initial assessment.
Kimberly, got a question for you.
Thank you, Kimberly. I wanted to point out to the board, this map comports pretty closely with what you have in your initial assessment in the hard copies that you received in the PDFs. But Josh is going to click on and highlight a couple of census blocks, which the Federal Census Bureau adopted or created, in which bisect our school district boundary, and which we have modified here and taken the liberty of excluding from District 1 and including in District 1. The problem is that the Federal Census Bureau didn't quite understand how the school district's boundary worked, and they drew their census blocks around Nacogdoches City limit lines. And so these three little blocks that Josh has highlighted along the edge of Precinct 1 as it abuts precinct 4 are kind of, the school district boundary meanders through those 3 blocks. And for purposes of our discussion tonight, we've eliminated them from District 1. They could be included in 1 or 4, but just to make the map look compact, we've taken them out and put them into District 4. It affects 3 people from what you originally had in your in the report you received. So it doesn't have any material difference on the numbers, but it does affect. It just looks odd, and I just wanted you to understand why we had messed with those 3 blocks.
Mr. Mendez?
Mr. Mendez? Zoom to that area here.
Mr. Mendez, this is Dr. Trujillo. Got a question for you. Before we go any further, is it possible that we can kind of, President Finch, so that the public will know exactly when we're talking about districts, when we have District 1 through 5, can we have the board kind of let us know who is in which district? Some of our public may not know the actual individual that's in that district. They know it by the individuals that are here. So if you could allow us just a moment so our board members can kind of communicate to the public what districts we have up here. Yes.
Absolutely.
I'm Leabeth Abt, and I'm in District 2.
And I'm Jerry Montoya, and I'm in District 3.
I'm Dr. Grumman, and I'm District 4.
I'm Mindy Winslow, and I'm District 5.
And I'll, for the record, this is Mrs. Fitch and Mr. Naramond, and we're at large.
So, recommend.
And then Reverend Irvin is District 1, and he is not with us tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Mendez. I just wanted to make sure the public would know exactly when we're talking numbers and districts, they know exactly who we're talking about. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, I appreciate it. So Josh has also marked or highlighted another census block along the edge of 5 and 4 that likewise has an issue that doesn't comport with the census boundary. It's the same kind of a problem. The census geography doesn't recognize the school district boundary, and so we've taken it out in this particular map. I don't think there's any population in that one, Josh, right?
Correct, none of the one attributed to District 5.
Okay. So anyway, with those minor points in mind, I'll turn it back over to Kimberly so she can review just the draft plan with you. Kimberly?
Thanks, David. So if we want to go down to, thank you, and just scroll out kind of generally so we can see District 1. And I also wanted to mention that yes, that's perfect. Okay, so we're starting with District 1. Again, this is an underpopulated district. It is also a district that has a substantial minority population. It's a minority as a majority population, which is largely African American. So we need to add population to this district, but as you'll recall, underneath the criteria that that the board adopted last session, the idea is that we attempt not to pack or crack minority groups, meaning that we don't pack them into one district if they could be 2, and we don't split them up and dilute a population if we can at all help it, and if they're a substantial minority. So District 1 here is a prominent majority-minority district, and it's our understanding that the district does have a history of electing a minority representative. So with that kind of overall framework in mind, we just want to be careful about which areas we add so that we don't unnecessarily dilute the minority population in that area. So with that being said, we started with the map. Josh, if you want to pull up the African American demographic map. And if you want to zoom in to that center part, the center insert, and look at District 1. Or if you can go up to the top left and just go ahead and look at thank you. And we'll zoom in there. So as you'll see, District 1 already has a substantial area of the minority population here. This is the African American minority population. So one, we need to pull population into District 1 So we look at the areas, again, this is from a purely legal perspective, but in order to add population and not dilute that minority population, it looks like we really have two options here. So we have done a mock-up of the two different options that would not substantially dilute the minority population. The first one being in between districts, yes, where your cursor is, thank you, in between districts 1 and 2. We want to look at the strip that is along District 1 here. If we can zoom in a little bit. So as you'll see, there's not a strong minority population here, but there is some majority population. We played with the maps before this, and there is not a way to actually maintain number one's minority strength while adding the adequate population to bring it back into one person, one vote. So what we've done is we've just tried to add areas that dilute it as little as possible. So this is one of the areas that we chose. As you'll see, there is a minority population along the line of 1 and 2 here. So if we want to, Josh, move back out to our Plan A map, if you'll keep that in mind. As you'll see, we've done a mock-up here where we've added in that territory that includes that minority population. So what that's done to...
Kimberly?
Yeah.
Kimberly, could you mention the street that forms the boundary there that you're looking at? Or if Josh can tell us what those streets are that are encompassed that area?
Yes, thank you. It's west of, I believe, Business 59. And I don't know that north boundary street.
It's Rusk Street.
Rusk Street. And the other thing about that area is that we've also pulled in attendance zones and overlaid the attendance zones within the map. And this area in particular was the attendance zone for the Nettie Marshall Academy of Dual Language. So as you'll see, the attendance zone line is now the red line. And so we've pulled in the area that's both within an attendance zone and that, again, had a minority population that didn't dilute the district too much. So, and by too much, I mean, we can look at the numbers, and the numbers are, for our initial assessment, I believe we have a graphic that we can pull up, Josh, that shows the initial assessment numbers.
The image of the, yes.
A snapshot, yes. So if we can view that in the bottom chart at the same time, if that's possible. Okay. So the box that he's pulling in is our initial assessment numbers. So for instance, if we look at the, is that correct for the initial assessment, Josh?
Yes, it is.
I think for the initial assessment, okay. I think we were
I
at
can also
47.
pull up the original chart. Just
Okay,
one second.
let's go ahead and pull up the original chart. So here you can see in District 1, the African American percentage of the population is 47.25. So what we've done is change it, and again, we have diluted it a little bit, but the least amount possible. So it has gone down to 45.24%, as you can see in the orange on the chart at the bottom of the screen. So
And
that
the
is-
important part here, the important part there is that combined with the Hispanic percentage, there are still 72.35% of the population in that district.
Great. So that's one potential way to add population into District 1 in a way that doesn't dilute the minority population. There is another option that we could go through. Josh, if you want to back out. So there's another area down here, and it looks like it's west of 224 here, and it's south of Park Street. So this was another potential area. Josh, if you want to pull in the census blocks all the way over to 224. So if we pull that in from District 2 into District 1, Josh, if we just want to go ahead and run through the scenario. And then we
Sure,
can
would you
pull
like me
out-
to unassign? Yes.
Yes, thank you. And then we'll unassign the change that we had done before. So this brings that area of the in between districts 1 and 2 back to its original boundaries, and again changes this area down on the south part of District 2 and the north part of District 1 in between 224 and south of Park Street. So that similarly has again dropped the minority population. It has dropped it slightly less. Again, it was 47.25. Now it's 46.17. And as David pointed out, again, the minority population in total is still 73%. So those are two potential, just purely legal options that we have come up with in order to add population to District 1.
So I just want to
And then
confirm, if I may, for just real quick, I just want to confirm I'm hearing this correctly. The second option that you gave us actually kept the minority population at 46, so it was actually a higher percentage, correct? Or am I hearing that backwards?
You are hearing that correctly. The
Okay.
slightly higher percentage by 1 percentage point. So that's our.
This is Dr. Broman. I know maybe this is premature, but I don't see how these changes takes mine and diminishes the numbers to get within 10%. I don't know where mine are going to go if some of them don't go to 1. In either of these plans, is any of that coming from 4?
So that's a great segue. I was going to move into the other change that we made it in this map is between Districts 3 and 4. So I was going to move to that next, and so it's an overall plan. We have to look at the overall numbers because it has to be under 10% as an entire plan. So we'll run through this particular change, and then we can talk about all of them together. So the next change that we made, we have to take some population from District 4 because it's overpopulated by 11%. Again, District 3 is underpopulated by 6%. District 3 is also a majority Hispanic population district. So Josh, if you want to pull up the Hispanic demographic chart.
Sure thing.
So we're looking along the border of Districts 3 and 4 here. If you want to scroll down, yes, thank you. Districts 3 and 4, this is a similar situation. We want to take some population from District 3, which is underpopulated, and move it into District 4, but we don't want to dilute the Hispanic population in District 3 so that it's no longer a minority-majority district. So what we did is we've looked at the blocks on the border here, and as you can see, Josh, if you can kind of move your cursor along where we moved, as you can see, there's some contiguous area on the border that does have some percentage Hispanic population, including a pretty big block that has a good Hispanic population. So that's what we've drawn from in this map that we're going to show you. If we want to pull up the Plan A, the change that we made here is to move from District 4 into District 3. this same area of Hispanic population. And if we want to look at the initial assessment numbers of the Hispanic population for District 3, thank you. So you'll see that the Hispanic population of District 3 as it stands now is 51.26%. And when we make our change here, it drops it by only a slight amount and it's still a majority. So it drops it by just a little bit more than a percentage point, down to 50.68, but it maintains the character of District 3. So if we make one of those two changes for District 1, and we make this change between Districts 3 and 4, that brings our plan to a 9.01% deviation, which does bring us in line under that 10% for one person, one vote purposes. Again, this is solely from a legal perspective, from trying to keep from the cracking and packing that we've talked about. We don't have the sufficient local knowledge to know if these changes fit in with your other objectives. So we would love to hear your feedback on if this plan could work and run some other scenarios on what you feel needs to change.
This Dr.
If we want to
Groman,
open up the floor.
the north border of this, the redistribution, what street is the north border of that? Is it 21?
The existing northern boundary for precinct, or for District 3 is Highway 7, West Highway 7.
Can we zoom in on what the new boundary would be under this plan? Is what road that is?
The northern portion of the new boundary that we're considering, is it 21 or is it 225?
Okay, so let's pull the map up. Zoom out a little bit and zoom
Sure,
up to the top area.
Okay. It is 225.
Okay.
The other significant thing about this particular area is, again, we looked at the school attendance zones, and we can overlay those. They're already overlaid. So if we drew from this area, this was, I believe, an elementary school. This was Brooks Quinn Jones Elementary School. And so we kept the population in an entire attendance zone for both of these changes.
And that would put, just that one thing would diminish my numbers where the District 4 would be within the law?
Yes, that brings District 4 just slightly overpopulated for 3.6%, which is well within the deviation.
Okay.
So if
Josh,
we
why
want
don't you
to,
zoom out so they can see the whole thing?
yeah.
Mr. Montoya, do you have any
Well,
thoughts?
I'm trying to look at this. So you're trying to give more
Double map,
voters
Josh.
into District 3, is that correct? So that it's a little more
I'm sorry?
even? Do you have an idea how many how many would that be?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the
Do you
question.
have an idea of, by doing this, how many voters would District 3 gain?
How many voters would District 3 gain? We can look at that.
Mr. Montoya, I think that needed you to use the microphone.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just curious to see how many voters that would increase District 3 to.
So 3's population.
Based on what the vote was last time.
Josh, go to the elections tab. Okay, so this tab shows the number of total registered voters in each of the districts.
I can't see.
So, put your cursor on that total voter column, Josh.
I can't see that District 3. Can you tell me that number?
4 for District 3, it is 4222, 4,222 total voters.
And that would fall within the percentage deviations that you're looking for, right?
Sir, yes, it does, but I will tell you that the number of voters is not relevant to the one person, one vote calculation.
Okay.
Go back to the tab, go back to the population tab, Josh. So the number that is relevant from a legal standpoint for one person, one vote is the total number of men, women, and children in each district.
Okay.
The ideal district size is 9,286, and District 3 would have 9,473 people under this plan.
Okay.
I'm Dr. Grom. Dr. Groman, I have one other question. In the layout of my District 4, I have two pieces of, two parts of my district are inside the loop, and they abut 1 and 3. Do I still have either of those, or do I have anything inside the loop in this new adjustment?
Yes, we did not change that area, and that was solely because District 1 and District 3, as we talked about, we don't want to dilute the population of those respective minority populations, and both of those areas inside the loop, we can pull it up on the demographic map, but neither one had a substantial minority population, so it would dilute Districts 3 and 1 to add those respective areas.
Okay, that's fine, that's fine. I'm just trying to see, because I can't tell from what you have up there if that was changed or not. But if we can do it with the simplest plan and affect the boundaries the least, where everything's contiguous, I'm all for that. We have to follow the law, but we want to make it as universal and helpful to a group of people where they're moved, and this will happen again in 10 years, but so people will have to adjust, but it hasn't been done for a long time. So I think so far things are looking up and pretty positive in the fact that you can get the numbers and keep from diluting minorities. I think that's all very important. So I think so far it looks really good.
This is Elizabeth Abt, and I have a question. If you'll go back to District 2, the second option for increasing District 1, you said that you'd be moving like the northern boundary there as Park Street. Were you going to do the entire length of Park Street so that it would go up to Mound, from 224 to Mound? It's, it's so hard to tell from this map.
In this mock-up, I believe we used Park Street and then cut it off at 224.
Okay.
And again, that was based on where the substantial portion of the minority population was and how much district we needed. But Josh, if we can zoom in and see.
Yeah, but Mound Street goes from 224 to, Park Street goes from 224, the loop, to Mound. And my question is, are you running it all the way to Mound, and anything south of Park Street then would be in District 1?
So Josh, it sounds like we need to move to the left along Park Street and see where it stops.
Yes.
So this was an existing part of the map that we didn't change. You'll see the red dot right there. That's where the incumbent for District 2 lives.
Okay.
So Josh, if you'll zoom in there and see what street that stops. I don't know if we can read that. Let's see.
Lanana?
Okay, so I just, if you were doing the full length of Park, then I would no longer be in District 2. That was my question.
Yeah, it looks like
Yes,
they
we've
didn't
maintained
change
you
the
in
boundaries
District
on
2.
that side. it looks like, because that red line is the
Yeah,
existing.
that red line,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
They just took it out.
Have to
Out
run
toward
against the
the light.
reverend, and I don't want to do that.
I tend to like the plan that keeps the population the most consistent with its current population, and to me, this, although you labeled it Plan B, it seems to achieve that goal more so than Plan A.
And I didn't mean to label it A and B as one is better or worse than the other. Just two different options.
Okay. All right. Any other thoughts, board members?
I don't have any.
All right. What are next steps for us?
That's great. Kimberly, do you want me to do that?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so board members, we're scheduled to have, I think, another drawing session with you all in a public hearing. What our clients typically have done, what our school districts have done, is we will, Josh and Kimberly and I will get this into a final form, call it an illustrative plan, and send it to the district so you can post it on the district's website so that the public can look at it. And then we will post and hold that public session so you can hear from the community as to whether they like it or, or have any criticisms of it. And then at that second work session, you'd have an opportunity to decide if you wanted to make any refinements. And also you could take this plan and talk to your constituents about it out in the community between now and the next work session. And then that's what we would suggest. And then after that, you can take it to a board meeting, a regular board meeting, and adopt if you receive favorable comment.
President Fitch, I just wanted to say one thing, that we basically are representing districts. We're elected from those districts, but we represent, each one of us represent every student and every parent and every member of our community in Nacogdoches. So this is important, but we still all represent every student and every family and the whole community.
Absolutely. All right, hearing no other questions, comments, or concerns about this, it looks like, do you have, Mr. Mendez, the direction you need from us to continue forward?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
We appreciate you all's indulgence this evening in reviewing our suggestions. And please let us know if there are any others, but we will get this ready for you to post.
Wonderful.
Just a quick, I just want to make sure I understand. This is based on the legal aspects of the voting, one vote, right? That's what we're doing?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we were trying to honor the idea that the district, the reason I think you have single-member districts is because of challenges historically and that caused the district to have districts from which minority communities could elect representatives. And so we've tried to honor that history by trying to rebalance the districts with a view to maintaining the majority-minority nature of the minority district. And that was our objective. That's in this. But a lot of other things come into play. Consider, for example, that district number 4 runs from one end of the school district to the other. It's a very diverse trustee district. There could be reasons to modify that for some of a non-legal nature, or other kinds of things come into play, like the attendance zone issues and all that. So we try as lawyers to just focus you in on not violating the Voting Rights Act, but you have a lot of other latitude in how you approach this, and we don't want to discourage you from looking at those issues, if there are things of that nature to deliberate on.
President Finch, if I may, what I'm hearing Mr. Mendez say is they're going to take care of the legal aspect of it. However, what they can't speak to is the nuances of Nacogdoches and the dynamic. So by visiting with our constituents and talking in the community, we'll find out if that second option is truly the best option, or maybe that first option, or maybe there's one that we didn't consider, because what I'm hearing Mr. Mendez say is they can't address the nuances of the community. And so by reaching out to our area and talking about it, it'll prepare our public to come out and speak either for it or have us reconsider it. So I think that's it's pretty exciting opportunity for us to take it out to the community to see what they feel, especially since we haven't done it in a little bit, so.
Absolutely. All right, we appreciate all of you for joining us tonight, Mrs. Kelly, Mr. Mendez, Mr. Bristol. We appreciate your time and diligence in helping us work through this process.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Fitch,
Yes, Mr. Nearmont.
they're not with us yet, are they? No, I don't, they're gone, right? Yeah, good. My suggestion is, for my understanding, it's good for them to provide us a map, a page set, current, where they are marked, additional to those districts highlighted with different colors, and even say how many from this district goes to that district, how many that district. Am I making sense, folks?
Yes, you are.
So that way, which I'm colorblind, I can see what's going on, not only seeing it, recognizing it. That makes it easy for a lot of people who are in my shoes or not really able to read the map as good. They can comprehend. I've listed in front of them, say we're moving them from 1 to 2. This section is addition. Am I making sense, folks?
Yes, yes.
And they give it to us, and at the same time, extra copies for the audience if they want to look at it. So they can follow it. It's very difficult to sit here, what the boundaries are, and actually, I like for them, if they want, to put the name of the streets, actually, or the boundaries.
Yeah, I think the next round what we'll get from them is that detailed view, correct? Kind of a
You will,
PDF form?
And I think that because this was an overview, you're looking at the whole community. And now that we've honed into the actual areas, we could work with them to let them know, okay, if we're talking about 3 and 4, let's just look at a map of 3 and 4. And when we post it on the web, you can see just 3 and 4, where it is, what's the adjustments that we're suggesting, then move over to the other area and just present those two. Because if we present this to the whole public and they're looking at all of it, and they have to go and find it,
Right.
they're not gonna be able to do that. Tonight, we were doing that to see the whole,
Yeah.
the whole scope of it, so.
I was drawing that on my own, just sitting here. I said, okay, from 1 to 2, we're going to add this or cut this. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but I comprehend it much, much easier when I see where the boundaries are, the streets are, and it's color-coded. And it doesn't have to be on a big page, it's just the one page.
Not like what,
Like this.
Well, and it was hard.
This is the whole-
It was hard to see the little numbers.
That's the whole shit match right there.
Whereas if you put them on the map, we can kind of see this is the plus and minus. I think that
So I
would be.
think we'll ask that if we can, as they get that developed, you can email those electronically out to the board, so it is easier, we can zoom in with some detail on the computer screen and be able to look at that detail. Work? All right, any additional questions, comments,
But just the
thoughts?
fact that they put the boundaries, we have enough sense what the street is within this boundary. If they name the streets.
Yes,
I guess my comment is just, once we get that plan, and that's what we decide that we want to go on as a board, then we go out to our constituents and talk to them about their feelings about this. We will have stuff that we can show them. We can show them the maps and stuff. Is that what we're planning on doing? Will that be the responsibility of each board member, or as a board, will we have meetings for each district to come in and have a discussion, or Have we thought about that, or do you have any thoughts about that, Dr. Trujillo?
Mr. Montoya, I have a comment on that. If we go show it to a specific, or maybe 10, 15, 20 people, there are a lot of people who don't know, haven't seen it, then they feel that they got priority those. In other words, when we have a public meeting and they're open for everyone who comes, those who are interested to know they come, those who are not interested, they don't come.
Well, I know that, but I'm just, from my point of view, in my district, I have such a low voter turnout, and if they don't have that information and that knowledge, then the voter turnout will still be low. If they have the information, the voter turnout might be a little higher.
Yeah, my suggestion would be to, rather than haul around the map and going to them, is let your community, go out to the community and let them know, listen, we're addressing this area, come out to our board meeting, listen to the board, this next board meeting. That way they could actually come in and they may even have some really good questions for us that we may not know. But going out and visiting with individuals, I don't know if that would, you won't be able to, between now and then, you're not going to be able to meet everybody. But by saying, come to the board meeting, spread the word, we're talking about this area, then hopefully we'll have the public come in and sit.
That
Well,
sounds
question, when they have a cleaner map to show us.
Yes.
And you said that you would be sending it to us. Will we be posting that on our website as well so that they can go and be looking ahead of time?
Actually, one of the things that I'm hearing, Mr. Mendez, is
It
he's going to give
sounded
us,
like he was,
he's going
yeah.
to send it to us, and Holly and I will work with them to see what we'll do if we need to communicate back. But we want to make sure we have the right, something that's easily communicated
Yes.
to the public so that they can see it. But I would, to Mr. Montoya's point, I would point them to the website, let them know to be looking for that, but most importantly, the December board meeting, because that is whenever, that is a great time for the community to come in and speak, especially those that are impacted in that area. And I will tell you, in those areas, you have individuals that are basically that little community that speak out to them. My concern tonight is that we're missing a key element of the board, which is Reverend Irving with District 1. So the next time we come in here, even though it's coming to a positive with him, is that the right direction that he needs for his district? So we still got to get some answers from that, because I believe all of you had an opportunity indirectly or directly to visit with Mr. Mendez or his staff, depending if you were impacted or not. So I would point them to the website as soon as we get that. I was watching Mr. Lineberger, he was sitting there shaking his head. As soon as we get it, we could get it on the website. But also we want to make sure, what are we getting? And is it going to ask more, is it going to cause to have more questions? And we want to be as informative as possible. The one thing that I also want to speak to is that Mr. Mendez and this group, this is not their first rodeo. So we're reminding ourselves, this is their business. This is what they completely do, and they work on communicating. And I want to tell you, Nacogdoches public is not going to be any different than the rest of the public. We just want to make sure that we give them right, clear information and exactly what we're wanting to communicate. So the one thing that we're excited about is the public is used to seeing information presented from Mendez. The county saw it, and then the city's doing the same thing. So the same lines and the same reports and the same color scheme and the same, they're seeing it from the county, they're seeing it from the city, and they're seeing it from the school district. Oh, my goodness, God be with us if we were using a completely different group that was using a different color scheme, a different setup, it would be frustrating. So one of the things that's going to be a benefit for us is that we've aligned 3 big entities that are redoing the district, and the community is already informing themselves on what that looks like, and so they can transfer that across the board. So it's I'm excited about that portion of it as well.
I think that's
So,
really good.
yeah.
I think that's a really good way.
Absolutely.
I was talking to Judge Sal and Jerry Don Williamson from Precinct 1 and Commissioners, and they both said they were very happy with the professional way that they redistrict and got everything equalized by the law.
Yeah.
And I think that's a real critical thing, because a lot of times we don't think about the law. We just think about the passion we have for our students and our families. And what really is going to happen for you, Mr. Montoya, is you're gaining some of my students and some of my families, but for us to meet the requisitions of the laws, I have to relinquish those to you, and I freely do that. But you're actually going to get more voters in your
But
district.
didn't you say we represent them all, so it doesn't really
There
matter?
you go. We represent everybody.
That's right.
It's not like city wards.
Yeah. The wonderful thing, even though he mentions attendance zones, and I'm glad that we didn't ask too many questions, the attendance zone is everybody.
Yeah.
And even though we're redrawing the attendance zone, I was thankful that we weren't asking too many questions, because really the attendance zone, every parent has an advocate on this board on what's in the best interest of their child, whatever boundary that is that they're going to fall in. But I do appreciate the fact that they're paying close attention to that, and it speaks volumes that they're seeing that there's value in that. But for us, goes back to what Dr. Roman, you said earlier in there, is we represent everybody. And even though you're getting, some of yours are going to him, and he's getting, they're still going to be blessed to have every single one of us that are there. But I will stress the fact that, so the public can hear this, is the city, the county, and the school district is using the same thing. You're not having to change the legend or look at the color scheme. If they've participated with the county, they're going to understand this plan. If they're participating with the city, they're going to understand this. And I know Mario is excited because when they're talking about the city, the community will see that we are all talking about the same map. So it's a great thing. Yes, sir.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Next item on our agenda was an executive session. There's no need for that executive session tonight. So we will move to item 6, our adjournment, if we have a motion.
I move we adjourn.
Thank you, Mrs. Winslow. We've got a motion. Do we have a second?
I second.
Second by Mrs. Apps. Thank you so much. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you all for your time tonight.